we find ourselves in a world of trouble because of the fact that we chose not to abide by the very principles we hold other people to. Why do you think the Lord was so angry and disgusted with the Sadducees and the Pharisees? Because they erected rules. They erected laws and rules that were in no way conducive to true faithful living. It was a lot of hypocrisy. It was a lot of what's the word for it? It was a lot of hypocrisy. It was a lot of foolishness. It was a lot of just play acting. And what we see in church nowadays, a lot of play acting and a lot of lives destroyed because of the hypocrisy that we continue to follow through on. So today we're going to basically talk about this whole idea of Elohim Ochel, consuming God. And this is, I'm intentionally going to be stepping on toes here because of the fact that in light of what we know about God being consuming and the righteous indignation that we have, and we serve in different ministries, we stand in front of abortion centers, we basically try and stop sex trafficking, and we're trying to stop all these different things. However, our lives, if we truly held the standard that the Lord had, that righteous indignation would not be impartial. It would not be partial. It wouldn't just work in certain areas and ignore the other areas where it's critical that we see what God's doing. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have a verse that I want us to see here because of the fact that I don't think that we fully understand what the Lord is saying. And I think it's time for us to wake up on this. Let's pull up this particular verse I want you to see here. Vengeance and payback are mine. For the time when their foot slips, for the day of their calamity is coming soon. Their doom is rushing upon them. And this is that the Lord protects his image. As we sit here and we get into Exodus and Exodus chapter 3, and we're about to get into the burning bush. Burning bush situation here. There's no confusion about the fact that the Lord, the God of creation, is responding, and he's about to get his name glorified in everything that he says and he does. And it's time for us to put an end to the foolishness of thinking that we're here in God's army and we hadn't even made it out of boot camp. Yeah. We keep thinking that we're in God's army and we haven't even made it out of boot camp. And it's a crying shame. If you want to interact, you go to facebook.com/battle for freedom, or you can go to rumble.com/battle for freedom and leave a comment there. So I'm going to leave this particular passage up because of the fact that this is the guiding theme through what we're going to be reading here in Exodus chapter 3. And again, I'm reading from the Complete Jewish Bible. And let me go to the first verse, but this is the running theme through this whole passage. Again, I'll read it one more time. Deuteronomy 32:35. Vengeance and payback are mine for the time when their foot slips. For the day of their calamity is coming soon. Their doom is rushing upon them. Exodus chapter 3, verse 1. Now Moshe was tending the sheep of Yitro, which we normally know as Jethro in other translations, his father-in-law, the priest of Midyan. Leading the flock to the far side of the desert, he came to the mountain of God, to Horev. The angel of Adonai appeared to him in a fire blazing from the middle of a bush. He looked and saw that although the bush was flaming with fire, yet the bush was not being burned up. Moshe said, I'm going to go over and see this amazing sight and find out why the bush isn't being burned up. See, the thing that's really beautiful about the Lord and the way he does things is he gets our attention because we see some things that are completely indescribable. There are things that we see from the Lord that completely defies all logic and common sense. Well, common sense according to us. But the Lord of creation has the right and the power to do as he sees fit. And this is the part where I get really confused But I see how easy it is to happen in churchianity because of the fact that we keep changing the standards, and all the time, even in churchianity, we're not even operating according to the correct standard. So when we sit here and we have a misguided form of righteous indignation. And what happens is we then get our sanctified imaginations and we start creating all these different things that God never told us to create. But we do it because what happens is by turning around and getting indignant about certain quote unquote sins in the world, we deflect attention away from ourselves. See, this is when you know churchianity is at its finest and its strongest, is when it has an excellent job of deflecting all eyes away from the very sins taking place in the said ministries or wherever. And what happens is then all of a sudden people say, they act like they're shocked, or people get very, very silent when we sit there and we start pointing out the issues and the problems that's happening in churchianity. And then all of a sudden they think, oh, you're anti-Christian, you're anti-Jesus, you're anti-church. No, we're not anti-church. I believe in the church. It's just the model that we have employed right now is not what God had in mind. What we have employed right now is a perfect culmination of the deceptions of Satan. And a lot of activity, there's a lot of Martha activity going on. Yeah, there's worship and praise, but still, it's just when you sit there and you stop and you say, okay, look, all these people who are getting paid. Look at all these people who are making money from this ministry. Why? Why are they making all this money and the lives of the individuals don't look like they reflect people who are children, alleged children of the Lord? And we have to ask ourselves the reason why this happens, because we got so comfortable with God. We were never operating according to his standards. And because we weren't operating according to his standards, our level of living didn't have to be anything consistent or closely remote to what the Lord has required of us. But this is very interesting. Again, Moses, has seen this burning bush that's not consuming. And again, when I say Elohim Ochel, this is about the idea of God consuming. God consuming, but not destroying. Because there's going to be a point where God's going to consume and he will destroy. Hey, Lisa, thank you for joining and being part of the program. There's going to be a part where the Lord will consume and he will devour. That's his wrath that comes in the end. That's the wrath that you see in Sheol, in the fiery furnace. It's interesting when you think about that too, about the fiery furnace and the three Hebrew boys. They were burnt. There was a fire that was meant to consume them, but the Lord protected them. The consuming fire went within a cauldron, within a heated cauldron that was heated 7 times higher than it normally is. And when they came out, they marveled that these men were not consumed in any way. The burning bush scenarios are much like what happened. Well, the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego story is very reminiscent of the burning bush. In the midst of fire, yet not consumed. No singed clothes, nothing. And it marvels our mind. And what happens is these are the moments when we see these things that we cannot explain, we know it's completely supernatural, that we jettison our need to try and find a scientific reason or excuse for the very truth that we see before us. The I am that I am is standing right before us, revealing himself for us. And it better do this before you close your eyes on this side of eternity. Because if you don't, and you wake up in hell, there's no one you can blame. Oh, I want another chance. No. Hebrews 9:27 says, it is appointed for a man to die once, and then comes the judgment. And then comes the judgment. Well, because of the fact that we have not experienced this consuming fire, or that we haven't heard the fire and brimstone from the pulpits, that's why the church, devoid of Torah, devoid of boundaries, can continue to look as just like the world, because the burning bush is not consuming them in their establishments. Verse 4. When Adonai when Adonai saw that he had gone over to see, God called to him from the middle of the bush, Moshe, Moshe. He answered, here I am. He said, don't come any closer. Take your sandals off your feet, because the place where you're standing is holy ground. I am the God of your father, he continued, the God of Avraham, the God of Yitz'chak, and the God of Yaakov. Moshe covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. I love this story here because of the fact what's so beautiful in this is that the Lord, again, you remember what we said, Elohim Ochel, that was last week, the God who sees. And then we're now dealing with the God who continues to see. He continues to see his people, and he also sees his messenger, whom he's calling out to do his bidding, to serve and exalt his name before men, self-exalting man. And he basically says, listen, you know what? I'm calling you. Don't come any closer. Take the sandals. Now remember, the sandals are what was used when the shepherds and those who were walking in the streets, even in the time of Yeshua, that the sandals was what kept the individuals from walking through the turd of animal, of livestock or whatever. So the Lord was like, listen, I don't want you to track in that stuff. I don't want it. It's interesting when we think about this. It's like the same level of indignation that a mother or woman will have if she's cleaned the floor. Kids were playing outside in the rain and the mud and all that stuff, and the last thing she wants to be doing is you tracking that stuff over her finely cleansed floor. Now think about that. We can recognize that we would not want to upset mama and track mud and all dirt and all that stuff into the home after she's cleaned the floor, because it has been revered as something holy and something to be treasured and appreciated and kept in its pristine state. Yet we don't have that same mentality when it comes to the Lord. We don't have that same mentality when we come into his presence. We think, with a lot of the easy believism and the hyper grace going on, that you can come as you are. Just show up just as you are. The ignorance from the he gets us and a lot of the stuff that we see even in the series of The Chosen. The people can come as they are, and they're not required to change immediately. Just come as you are. Hence, a lot of the ministries that tailor themselves to specific sins rather than a life that's repentant. But the Lord sees Moses. He's like, no. You're not going to track any dirt in. And also, I want nothing between you and me so that our fellowship can be free and unhindered. I want close contact with you, and if it means you removing things from you, I mean, think about this. When the Lord created Adam and Eve, were they wearing Armani suits? Were they wearing, what was the name of that? Chief told me this one brand, I forgot what it was. But, were they wearing designer, Abercrombie and Fitch? They were butt naked. No pun intended. They were naked in the garden because of the fact that the Lord says, I don't want anything between you and me in fellowship. And the moment that sin came, the Lord put a layer over the man and the woman, because sin created division. And the Lord is saying, I don't want anything between you and me. And again, this is in the 10 sayings. You shall have no other gods before me. And we'll turn around and we'll take the simplest thing we have in life and we'll turn it into a god. It'll have our complete distraction and focus. And the Lord's like, nothing. I want nothing between you and me. But we don't care, because of the fact that we have not experienced the fire and brimstone of God. And so we think we can carry on whatever way we want to without any repercussions. Shout out to Larry over there in the Rumbleverse. Appreciate you being part of the program. As we sit here and continue to look at the Lord and his kindness and his goodness, the idea that he's taking you, the place where you're standing is holy ground. I am the God of your father, the God of Avraham, the God of Yitz'chak, and the God of Yaakov. You know, this is very interesting, too, that he says the God of your father. I find this one very, very interesting because of the fact that we don't really hear much about his father. The focus is on Moshe. We learn about his father in previous chapters, but as we sit here looking at this, I'm the God of your father, the God of Avraham, the God of Yitz'chak, and the God of Yaakov. And Moses covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. You know, this is what I love. I love that last statement about the fact that he was afraid. He covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. Do you know what that means? Let's go back to this. I am the God of your father, the God of Avraham, the God of Yitz'chak, and the God of Yaakov. The reason why this is so significant is because of the fact that it tends to lead that his father was practicing Torah. His father was practicing the faith by which was handed down to us so we could worship the Lord in spirit and in truth. Now, mind you, did Moses even know who his father was? I mean, he grew up most of his life believing that, that Pharaoh was his father. But in the end, we know that it was his birth father, a Hebrew, a Jew who knew the word, practiced the word, lived the word. And because of the fact that this was now the recognition that Moses was given, that it was the God of his father, the God of Avraham, Yitz'chak, and Yaakov, he recognized this is the God who redeemed Israel. I mean, who basically saved Egypt. This is the God who has done amazing things as has been handed down in history. So he realizes that he is standing in the presence of the Holy One that reduced Sodom and Gomorrah to ashes and dust. Just nothing but heaps of sulfur. He brought down the fire and brimstone, and they were done. So he stands and he recognizes, I'm in the presence of holiness and someone who could destroy me right on the spot. His first reaction, cover my eyes, cover my face, because I am not going to be consumed by that intense heat, light, righteousness. And verse 7, Adonai said to him, I have seen my people. I have seen how my people are oppressed in Egypt and heard their cry for release from their slave masters, because I know their pain. I have come down to rescue them from the Egyptians and to bring them out of the country to a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the place of Kenani, Hittite, Emori, Perizzi, Hivi, and Yuvasi. So basically the Lord, you remember Elohim Roha, the God who sees. He sees the pain. He sees the plight of his people. I'm going to take it even further. He sees everything. Interesting that in the jingle that we use for Santa Claus, Satan Claus, we turn around and he says, he sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows when you've been good or bad, so be good for goodness sake. Oh, you better watch out. You better not cry. Better not shout, I'm telling you why. We know this about Santa Claus. A distraction, a deceptive distraction and demon pushed by churchianity and secular society. But yet the same reverence and fear, do we have this for the Lord of creation? Do we have this for the Holy One of Israel? Do we have this for the God of Avraham, Yitz'chak, and Yaakov? And we don't have that kind of reverence that we have for him, because we have not stood in the presence of the consuming fire, the consuming bush that has not burned. We have been in the presence of some pseudo God that has no correlation to the God of the Bible, has no correlation to the one who has created all things, the Lord of Torah, who has handed down the teachings and the boundaries by which we should live to honor him in everything that we say and we do. We don't know him. You remember, what was it in the beginning of Exodus 1? That the sons of Yaakov passed away, they moved on, and 400 years later, the new Pharaoh, the new king, knew nothing of Joseph, neither him nor his God. But the Lord of creation, he sees his people being oppressed, and he will deal with them. He will save them. Verse 9. Yes, the cry of the people of Israel has come to me, and I have seen how terribly the Egyptians oppress them. Therefore now come, and I will send you to Pharaoh, so that you can lead my people, the descendants of Israel, out of Egypt. Elohim Roha, who sees. Elohim Ochel, who the one who consumes, because he is not happy. He's about to bring recompense on those who have done wrong. Now, here's the thing about it that's really crazy. Is we get this thing twisted. We misrepresent. I will bless those who bless. We say, I will bless those who bless Israel. I will curse those who curse Israel. But the passage, he is talking to Avraham. Now, the inference is that Israel is brought upon this, but look, contextually speaking, he's talking to Avraham long before Israel even comes onto the scene. Long before they come onto the scene. And the Lord is like, you know what? We've created this dichotomy of acceptable and non-acceptable people. The word creates the correct dichotomy. 1 Samuel 15:22, I desire obedience over sacrifice. There's a lot of sacrifice, quote unquote, sacrifices that we have been making under the guise that we are honoring God. And he's like, depart from me, you workers of iniquity. I never knew you. But the Lord, when we are in pain, when we are in suffering, and we're truly trying to abide by his will and his way and his word, he recognizes the plight that we face. He recognizes the challenges that we may be exposed to. And the Lord is basically saying, hey, listen, I got you covered. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of this situation. Please do me a favor. Listen, obey, and watch, and allow me to be exalted. I know your pain. It's funny. Well, we can recognize that when Bill Clinton says that, but we don't really believe it when the Lord says it. We can recognize it when our political leaders and the people that we adore and our stars say these quippy statements of overcoming and major challenges and obstacles. But it's something much more when the Lord of creation basically says, I hear you, I see you, and I will redeem you. Let's do this, folks. Let's get ready for a break, and what we'll do is I'll talk to you on the flip side. I'll do a couple of the commercials on the other side when we get back, so that we can just go in and on direct. Talk to you on the flip side. Psalm 1, verse 1. How blessed are those who reject the advice of the wicked, don't stand on the way of sinners, or sit where the scoffers sit. I love this because it's basically saying that the person does not want to associate with wickedness in any way, from hearing, standing near, associating, nor being comfortable enough to rest in his presence. Verse 2 says, their delight is in Adonai's Torah. On his Torah they meditate day and night. In other words, they love the teachings of God, and this is what they think about day and night. They are like trees planted by the streams.
They bear their fruit in season. Their leaves never wither. Everything they do succeeds. Verse 3 is basically hinting that there's life in them, and it's not murky, stagnant water that passes by them or fills them. It's flowing, life-giving, clean water. But verse 4 says, not so the wicked, who are like chaff driven by the wind. Chaff, it's a substitute, or it looks like, or an imitation of wheat that has no substance and has no value, and it's easily manipulated. For this reason, the wicked won't stand up to the judgment, nor will sinners at the gathering of the righteous. In other words, there is no hope for those who reject the teachings of Adonai, who reject his Torah. They will not be able to stand, even though they think that they're gods. The Lord of creation will humble them. Verse 6, for Adonai watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked is doomed. In other words, if our goal is to reject Adonai, his teachings, his Torah, his rule, his order, that means that we will suffer the consequences of living in no order and complete chaos, facing his wrath for eternity. Why? Because we rejected his truth. Triggering change, one heartbeat at a time. Battle for freedom.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom on Mojo 5 Radio. Today we're talking about Elohim Ochel, his righteous indignation. This is dealing with the reality of, as we're in Exodus 3 and we're looking at the God who sees, this is also the consuming God who recognizes when unrighteous deeds are taking place, and he will rectify the situation because nothing escapes his understanding and his will. And we should shudder when we ever consider that we can get away with unrighteous deeds before the Holy One of Israel. Before we continue, let me do a couple of these.
It's fascinating. Have you seen it? LaserShopLive.com. It's the YouTube channel for Romika laser engraving and custom designs. We're excited to offer you a 24-hour live stream of our laser shop, along with various videos showcasing our laser work and completed projects. Our state-of-the-art equipment and skilled designers create intricate designs on a variety of materials. With our live stream, you can see firsthand how we create our one-of-a-kind products.
I stumbled upon LaserShopLive.com and was blown away by being able to actually watch them work on their projects. Their laser engraving live stream is fascinating to watch, and I lose all track of time.
Whether you're a business owner, creative professional, or just someone who appreciates unique and personalized items, LaserShopLive.com has something for everyone. And with our YouTube channel, LaserShopLive.com, you can watch our live stream and browse our videos anytime, anywhere. So why wait? Check out Laser Shop Live today and see what all the buzz is about. Visit LaserShopLive.com.
Yes, visit LaserShopLive.com. Let them know Watson from Battle for Freedom sent you. I think you'll like the quality of the things that you receive, and you can't go wrong. Another thing I want to actually cover, because of the fact that I started this thread before the break and just talking about how we create this dichotomy of good and evil people, and the Lord has established and his word has established this, but there's a different dichotomy we set up of which people have more value than the other. Sometimes we believe, well, God only cares about the people. God only cares about the people who are following him. The Lord cares about everyone, because we were all created in his image. Does he take delight in destroying and just consuming and judging people? Yes, he does, because his holy righteous standard requires him to. His righteousness requires him to, but don't think that he in any way is also not saddened by the fact that his image bearers could actually choose to reject him and live in a life of rebellion. Their rebellion must be required, but they were still created in his image. And so when we sit there and we watch these ministries of abortion, we watch the sex trafficking and so much more, one of the things that's so sad and scary about this is the fact that what people don't seem to understand is, like, they talk about women's reproductive rights, but slaughtering the children in the womb is something that Satan enjoys. because man was created in his image, and every mar, every attack, every desecration that happens against a human being, Satan believes that he's actually winning something. He's upping things against the Lord of creation, against the sovereign one. I mean, you want to talk about complete delusions of grandeur. He believes that, you know what, is it sad? Is it offensive? Yes. Is it effective in destroying God? No. And this is the part about it that for me, this is the part about, for me, I'm talking about the consuming God who we love and whom we serve. We have a privilege to basically know him. Is bless their hearts of the individuals that stand in front of abortion centers. Bless your heart. One of the things that kills me is if you're part of a ministry where you know that there's abuse of power, if you're part of a ministry where you know that there are no standards and people can live whatever way they want to, shacking up that like there's no tomorrow, people living alternate lifestyles, leading worship and praise, people openly practicing witchcraft and divination in the church, and we have no fear of doing this. But hey, yeah, I'm going to play my part of standing out in front of an abortion center. That's wrong. Because the Lord requires his holy standard to be exacted everywhere. And if we willfully choose to avoid the very logs and planks in our own eyes, depart from me, you workers of lawlessness. I never knew you. Because the Lord does not tolerate this foolishness. And it's very sad that we get so comfortable in believing that there is no consequences for our sin against him. It's very scary, very, very scary to think that this is the way we can carry on and that the Lord will not judge us for the way that we have misbehaved or willfully misbehaved. Oh, Lord, please forgive us. Lord, forgive us. We're going to continue this, but let me do a couple more of these here. 1 second. Next one.
Hey, my name's Trip, and I want to introduce you to Sun Oven. This is our all-American Sun Oven. We've been making these for the last 35 years. We're in 126 different countries all over the world. And basically, we call this a solar crock pot. And it's used to be able to just put your food in there and slow cook it with the power of the sun. You can never burn, scorch, or dry anything out inside the Sun Oven. Once you put it in, the sun reflects off of these reflectors in through the glass into the inner chamber, and it reaches temperatures of between 300 and 350 degrees. Really, the design is very simple. It's like the greenhouse effect. If you got in your car during the summer and it's really, really hot, that's what's happening inside the Sun Oven. You know, anything you cook in your regular oven, you can cook inside the Sun Oven. You can use any of your existing pots and pans. If they'll fit in here, you can cook with them in here, just like you do in your regular oven. It's designed for you to be able to cook your meal out with the power of the sun. And literally, the longer you keep stuff in here, the more juicy and tender it is. So that's a quick introduction to the Sun Oven. Thank you.
Yes, get yourself a Sun Oven before it's too late. Because you know what? When the grid goes down and you don't have that connection, yeah, you're going to be praying to the sun, who you rejected all your life. That's S-O-N, not S-U-N. But you better get yourself a Sun Oven before it's too late. One more.
Hello, I'm Dr. Lee with HorizontalHive.com. And I keep bees naturally. And everything starts by catching a local free swarm of honeybees. You put a small beehive like that on the tree in the springtime, and just as birds move into birdhouses, bees will move into a little hive like that. After that, you take the frames, put them in a bigger box, they expand, they collect honey from the flowers and make good honey for you. And it can be as simple as that. No sugar feeding, no chemical treatments. I'm doing it for a living. And there are so many people who do the same thing. You can learn more in the book, Keeping Bees with a Smile. And that's exactly that, doing natural beekeeping and smiling at the same time.
Yes, natural beekeeping and smiling at the same time. So as we sit here and we watch how the Lord's going to be doing this, let us be mindful to exalt him in everything that we say and we do. Let's exalt him in everything that we say and we do. And let's get back into this lesson because of the fact that there's so much more I want to cover and say. The last we were on here, we were dealing with the Lord basically saying, Yes, the cry of my people, verse 9. The cry of the people of Israel has come to me, and I have seen how horribly the Egyptians oppressed them. Therefore now come, and I will send you to Pharaoh so that you can lead my people, the descendants of Israel, out of Egypt. Yeah, I got time for this. Yes. This story right here, this passage right here, I remember confronting a brother, another Caucasianly challenged brother, years ago, because there's this hyper emphasis on the plight of black people, even in the church. And so there's this super focus. We want Democrats, we want reparations, we want all these other different things. And I was like, let's go back to this particular passage, because of the fact that how the Lord answers in this situation of delivering his people out of slavery. Why have we not done the same thing and applied the same principles here from his word? Because I asked him, I said, what did we'll actually say, I'll save it for when we get to that particular passage, and we'll go from there. I don't want to miss this. Verse 11, Moses said to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and lead the people of Israel out of Egypt?" He replied, "I will surely be with you. Your sign that I have sent you will be that when you have led the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain, on the Mount of Horev." Horev has been the pronunciation in other translations. He's like, you will worship me on here. You will worship me because the feats and the things that I'm going to do before your eyes. Your only recourse of action is to worship me. When we read his word, we need to stop using the word as a pick-me-up system and realize it is a love letter that opens up the doors of communication and fellowship and relationship with the creator of the universe and the lover and savior of our souls. It's not just something that we just do cliff notes or daily bread and all these other different things. No. We need to allow the word to transform us in a way that is evident he is present in our lives. And when we truly witness him, when we truly see him for who he is, all we can do is like the angels and the elders in Revelation, falling down on our faces, throwing our crowns before him. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. He's like, yeah, when you see what I'm about to do, yeah, your only recourse of action is to worship me. You will exalt me when you see how well and how amazing I respond in the midst of your disasters. Verse 13, Moshe said to God, "Look, when I appear before the people of Israel and say to them, the God of your ancestors has sent me to say to you and sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What am I to tell them?" God said to Moshe, "Echya Asher Eya, I am, will be what I will be, what I am will be." And he added, here is what you are to say, here is what to say to the people of Israel. Echya, I am, or I will be, has sent me to you. The I am that I am. I am the consuming God. I am the God who sees. I am the God who redeems. I am the God who creates. I am the God who orders. I am the God who starts and the God who stops. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. If that does not give you chills of satisfaction, I don't know if you even have a pulse, a spiritual pulse, a connected pulse back to God. Maybe your vine has been cut off, or your vine and branches, you have zero connection to the Lord. That's the reason why everything that's being said to you, when we talk about Torah, when we talk about his truth, is so disconnected from you because you've never been connected in the first place. Yay. Yay. I am or I will be. Yahweh. Yahweh is our peace. He's our strength. He's our shield. He's our banner. He's our stronghold. Our fortress. Verse 15. God said further to Moshe, say this to the people of Israel. Yedhe Vahe Adonai. Yud He Vahe Adonai, the God of your fathers, the God of Avraham, the God of Yitz'chak, and the God of Yaakov has sent me to you. This is my name forever. This is how I am to be remembered generation after generation. You remember how Exodus opens up with the names? Part of his title. It brings me back to what is the name of that program? Holy cow. It's with the Thenagarians, Game of Thrones. And you had the one woman who is the mother of dragons, and she always introduced her name, and it was like 15 different phrases. That's where they get it from here, because they want to exalt themselves to the level of the Lord, and because he's the God of he is the God of our fathers, the God of Avraham, the God of Yitz'chak, the God of Yaakov. How he should be recognized, and to recognize that this isn't just any simple God. I want to make a distinguishment between. I want to distinguish this between the God that Avraham, Yitz'chak, and Yaakov followed, and the ones that the rest of the world has followed. Because the one that was following, that Avraham, Yitz'chak, and Yaakov were following, he made changes. He made visible changes in the lives of those who follow him and obeyed him. Verse 16. God, go gather the leaders of Israel together and say to them, Adonai, the God of your fathers, the God of Avraham, the God of Yitz'chak and Yaakov, has appeared to me and said, I have been paying close attention to you and have seen what is being done into you in Egypt. And I have said that I will lead you up out of the misery of Egypt to the land of the Canaanite, Hittite, Amorite, Perizi, Hivi, and Yebusi, to a land flowing with milk and honey. See, this is going to be interesting. As he's going to the leaders and he's saying this, there's two groups of leaders. Because we have the rest of the story, we understand there's a generation of adults who did not or have not been in a relationship with the Lord, and they won't make it to the promised land. So when he sits there and he says he's talking to the leaders of Israel together, I believe that it's the new generation, the ones under 20 that will be the leaders. Basically, this is the affirmation, this is the encouragement to them that yes, you're surrounded by a bunch of buffoons who don't want to bow the heart, mind, soul, and spirit to my will and my way and my word. Don't worry about it. I'm going to take them out. This message, this word is directly for you. The God who has sustained Avraham, Yitz'chak, and Yaakov, this is the one who will sustain you as I take you out of this bondage. But remain in me, abide in me, follow my word, and you shall be fine. Doesn't mean that there won't be any problems. Doesn't mean that there won't be any static. Doesn't mean that there won't be any challenges. But we will be anchored in the creator of the universe. And I love this because of the fact that he's like, I've been paying attention. I've seen what's happened. I've seen, and maybe just not just only how the Egyptians have been mistreating them, how the elder Hebrews who won't make it out of the promised land, I've seen even their behavior. I've even seen the way that they have acted, and trust me, they're not getting away with it. They think they have, but they haven't. I'm going to take care of them as well too. So this is a word of encouragement to those, the future leaders. You haven't been given your station yet. You haven't been given your post. You haven't been given your assignment, but you are going through the spiritual boot camp that you need to honor God in everything you say and do. He is so good. He is so holy. He is so righteous. He is so true. He says, get them together, a land flowing with milk and honey. I will provide for you. And you know what? Milk and honey, that's probably it was probably one of the biggest requests while they were out there slavering. I'll take milk and honey. I'll take milk and honey over the dirt and the starvation that we've been experiencing all this time. And the Lord's like, I'm going to provide for you what you've been needing and what you've been desiring. Verse 18. They will heed what you say. Then you will come, you and the leaders of Israel, before the king of Egypt, and you will tell him, Adonai, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us. Now, please, let us go 3 days, journey into the desert, so that we can sacrifice to Adonai, our God. I want to stop there for a second. Did you hear that? He says, I want you to, the God Adonai, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us. Now, please let us go 3 days journey into the desert so that we can sacrifice to Adonai, our God. The Lord met with them. See, it had to be a spirit of humility and repentance is what has touched the heart of the Lord for him to finally respond and intervene in the midst of their plight. But this is what the thing is so key here, is that let us go 3 days journey out into the desert so that we can sacrifice to Adonai, our God. Basically, he didn't call for reparations. He called for worshipers. So in the age of wokeness that wants to bring equity and equality to everybody, equal results, look at this passage. This is what I said to the brother. I said, what did he say to tell Moses to tell Pharaoh? Let my people go that they may come and worship me. There's nothing about reparations. It was about, I want worshipers. I want people that even in the midst of their plight and they see the deliverance, they know that their deliverer is near. Then when they come to worship me, I will be their sustenance. I will be their standard. I will be their foundation. And we do everything we can to keep people away from the foundation of his truth and his word. So we say that, oh, that's old covenant. We don't need that anymore. That does not apply. And continuing to say that is direct rebellion that Satan has occupied your heart, mind, body, and soul. And you are a vessel for Satan than you are for the Savior. But interesting, he didn't ask for reparations. He's like, I want worshipers. Just something I want the black community to think about as they're looking for deliverance. Start worshiping the Lord. Not churchianity worship, true worship. Verse 19. I know that the king of Egypt will not let you leave unless he is forced to do so, but I will reach out my hand and strike Egypt with all my wonders that I will do there. After that, he will let you go. Moreover, I will make the Egyptians so well disposed toward this people that when you go, you won't go empty-handed. Rather, all the women will ask their neighbors and their house guests for silver and gold, jewelry and clothing, with which you will dress your own sons and daughters. In this way, you will plunder the Egyptians. Again, isn't it interesting? The idea of reparations didn't happen. That wasn't the first language that came out. It was a second language. It's not even about restoration. It's no. He's just saying they're going to pay you to leave. So even there, this isn't about reparations. This isn't about restoration. This is about you need to leave because you are a visible plague and plight on my life with your existence right now. But we don't want to consider that because we're so consumed in ourselves, self-centeredness, selfishness, and so much more. So you have to ask yourself, am I a vessel for honor or am I a vessel for destruction? The choice is yours. But Elohim Ochel, the one who sees, the one who is fierce, awesome, holy, righteous, and consuming, his righteous indignation will not let the wicked escape. Don't be the wicked. Be the righteous. Be his servant. I'm your host, Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom on Mojo Fiber Radio. We're going to end this one early today, but I want to say thank you for everyone who has been part of this program. Bless you. Be safe. Take care. And live long and prosper. Please, if you be consumed by the Lord of creation.